Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi Fenster, Rabbi Fisher. Thank you to everyone for welcoming me. It is so good to be here with you, to be celebrating Shabbat. This is a very joyful, very musical community. I've loved welcoming in and celebrating Shabbat with all of you. And the wonderful women of Kol Ami, it was so special to spend time together last evening, and so excited for all that you have done and all that you're going to be able to do going forward. And it's also so wonderful and special that several members of our Women of Reformed Judaism North American Board, our district leadership, is here this evening. Glad to welcome you and see you as well. So I'm from Boston originally. It's probably safe to say that you don't want to ask me what baseball team I cheer for. And my family lives now in Cincinnati. So it's also probably better if you're a soccer fan not to ask me which soccer team I cheer for if we have people into MLS. But my parents and my grandparents are from New York and New Jersey. So you better believe that I'm rooting for the Knicks this week. Oh my goodness, what a game, right? That game one, it was so good. So amazing to watch this team through the playoffs and the entire season. Now I want to say, and it's so funny because life just has kind of its little coincidences like this. I was just emailing with our rabbinic colleague, Rabbi Mamaroneck, who serves the San Antonio Reform Synagogue, where we have a vibrant, wonderful sisterhood. They send me honey every year on Rosh Hashanah. It's so lovely, and we care about them, and we love them, and I'm still rooting for the Knicks. So maybe you read a beautiful piece in the New York Times this week. A reporter went to watch Game 1 with Bill Bradley. Did anyone see this? A former player and also a former US Senator. And I loved this part, his reflection. Mr. Bradley said that he doesn't have personal relationships with the current players, but he has admired their postseason, sensing that they understand what it means, as he likes to say, to be 1 point on the 5-pointed star. And isn't this the fun of all this? Doesn't New York itself, he suggested, know its place in the constellation? Because, Mr. Bradley continues, that's what a team that plays unselfishly and with discipline and resilience can mean for a city. As the sidewalks outside filled with resilient and maybe unselfish and probably slightly undisciplined, I was in the city the other night, screamers and dreamers in orange and blue because they can see themselves. This is the magic of sports, and this also, I would argue, is the power of Women of Reformed Judaism, the organization that I am proud to lead. To bring people together, to build teams of leaders, collaborators, dreamers, those who are raising up the next generation, those who help people see themselves as inheritors of the chain of tradition. Now, leadership development, especially through this collaborative and really team-based mindset, is central to the work of Women of Reformed Judaism. And I'd argue it's really very feminist as well. WRJ was founded in 1913 in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's by chance that I live there. And we are the women's arm, the women's affiliate of the Reform movement, which means that we represent the largest movement in North American Jewish life, 2 million strong. For our entire history, we've been true to our 3 pillars: They are sisterhood, spirituality, and social justice. And leadership is really a common thread through all of these pillars. When we talk about sisterhood, we're thinking about our local groups and also global connections and bonds. Local groups, of course, like Women of Kol Ami, our affiliates, our grassroots, and really the social and the personal relationships that you all form here. When we talk about sisterhood, we also feel pulled to the global, to bonds between women and all people all around the world. We felt it, I know that I did, on October 7th, 2023, when we at WRJ were among the first North American organizations to call out the gender and sexual-based violence that was so horrific to witness on that day. Last month, I was among those invited to be an official international endorser of the report issued by human rights advocate Dr. Kochav Elkayam Levy. It was called Silenced No More. A painful report of the events of October 7th, and from the UN to Capitol Hill to the Knesset, we must hear their voices and we must not be silent. And we're going to live this value of global sisterhood later this month, joined by at least one or two folks here, when I will lead a delegation of North American women to London. There we're going to meet 20 women from all over the world who belong to our World Union for Progressive Judaism congregations and communities. We're going to learn and grow together. They're going to participate in a global fellowship that we run for rising women leaders. Our second pillar is spirituality. And in many ways, this pillar is the reason why WRJ was founded over a century ago. Our reform movement is egalitarian. It's what I love about it. Right? That means that men and women and all people are considered equal. Come to my home congregation in Cincinnati, the historical Plum Street Temple, and there's no separate seating for women and men, and that dates back to the 1860s. But egalitarian in principle does not always mean egalitarian in practice. Women of Reform Judaism gave women a place to lead in the reform movement when we were not able to serve on our synagogue boards or in North American leadership roles. Of course, this is going back a long way. Women couldn't serve as clergy. We know how that turned out. From our earliest days, the lay women of WRJ were showing up, working for representation, both in lay and clergy leadership roles. And I stand here on the shoulders of tireless advocates who fought for women to be able to become rabbis, beginning with the first woman who was ordained in North America, Rabbi Sally Priesand, now over half a century ago. From our earliest days, we were leaders who fought for access from the synagogue and also to the ballot box, for women's suffrage, and everywhere in between. Our social justice pillar flows naturally from this place. We've worked on gender equity issues and women's rights since our earliest days, speaking out about pay equity, reproductive freedom, and violence against women. And today we take the lead on these issues for our entire reform movement, and we join together raising our voices for advocacy for voting rights, democracy, LGBTQ rights, addressing anti-Semitism, and more. In fact, in 1965, and I share this fact, of course, as we enter this month of Pride, we, as Women of Reform Judaism, were the first organization, Jewish organization in America, to say that LGBTQ individuals should be welcomed and embraced in our congregations and our communities. We led the way. We build leaders and advocates and mobilize throughout the US and Canada. And our Torah has actually a lot to say about investing in leadership and keeping the Knicks in mind we're always keeping them in mind, about building a team of leaders. In this week's Torah portion, B'Ha'alotcha, we're in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, and we are wandering around in the desert. I don't have to do the scenes from last week because we were still just wandering around in the desert. And we meet a group of people called the Levites. They are a special tribe that God sets apart for service and leadership at the ancient temple. God says to Moses, Kach et ha-Levi'im, take the Levites from among the Israelites and purify them. You shall set the Levites apart from the Israelites, because the Levites belong to me. Chizkuni, the 13th century French rabbi, says that they're set apart, the Levites, from all the children of Israel, because up until that point, they had been part of the ordinary Israelites, all the rest of the people. Unlike the other tribes, the Levites don't receive a special portion of the land of Israel because their role is to be religious and spiritual leaders. And they do it as a group, as a collective with a sacred purpose. Now, the Levites, you may have noticed or known, are also exclusively male as our ancient spiritual leaders. From biblical times until less than a century ago, leadership and authority in the Jewish community has been patriarchal, and the doors for women and for equity were closed. So this is all the more so why we have a strong tradition in local sisterhoods and women's groups, all the way up to our North American board, to invite women into leadership, some of whom never thought that they were in a position to lead before. And while we can invest in individual leaders, and I know that you do here, leaders cannot lead alone. How could the Knicks be doing what they were doing if they only had, one star player? They would not be in the playoffs. Each of them excels as individuals, or they wouldn't be on an NBA team. But together, as a team, they are trying to do something truly great. Consider our ancient leader, our greatest leader, our ancestor, Moses. We're still in the desert, still lost, and the Israelites start to do what they do best. They are complaining. As we read, Moses heard the people weeping, every clan apart. At the entrance of each tent, God was very angry, and Moses was distressed. And Moses said to God, "Why have you laid the burden of all this people upon me?" Well, they're asking me for meat. Where am I supposed to get meat in the desert to all these people when I'm not expanding on the biblical text. It really says, when they whine before me and say, "Give us meat." I cannot carry all this people by myself. It is too much for me. So God, who has an answer for most everything, said to Moses, "Gather for me 70 of Israel's elders and bring them to the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting, and let them take a place there with you. I will draw upon the spirit that is on you, Moses, and I will put it on them. And they will share this burden and this gift, I would add, of leadership with you, and you shall not bear it alone." As Bill Bradley said, each team member, each a rock star in their own right, is 1 point on the 5-pointed star of a basketball team. We'd probably go with a 6-pointed Star of David, but you get the idea. Last night, as I sat with the wonderful women of Kol Ami, there was one thing that we all agreed on: how did you get here? I asked them. What brought you here tonight? And it's really true. Wherever I go around the country, around North America, the answer is always the same. Somebody asked me. Somebody invited me. Somebody saw something in me, and somebody asked me to lead. One person and one leader certainly cannot bear it alone, even Moses. And that's why we need teams of leaders, scores of folks stepping up to do their part, each in their own way. So many of you are, of course, leaders in your own right here in the synagogue, leading in volunteer organizations, at work, or beyond. And you were asked. That's how you got here. Someone invited you in. Now it's our chance, your chance, to find one more person, even 5 more people, and welcome them to step up and to lead. They are out there, or maybe they're right here in this room. And even if they don't know it, they're waiting to be asked. Shabbat Shalom, and let's go Knicks.